with another match preview. If I'm honest, I wasn't actually going to do this because I've got things today to, but I thought, you know what, why not? Obviously, Manchester United versus Burnley match review, and as it says, Pogba and Greenwood, in my opinion, must start. But for me, this, I think, is a very important game because we have three, in my opinion, sorry, I think I'm flattering myself. There we go. So, in my opinion, anyway, we have three big games coming after this event. We have Arsenal away, then we have City in the Carabao Cup, and then I think we have Wolves in the FA Cup as well. So those three games are going to be very big, most notably because of the form of those teams in, but more importantly, what it actually means for our season. For starters, when it comes to Arsenal, beating Arsenal and hopefully beating Burnley puts us in a strong position for top four. Obviously, with Wolves and with City, it's a question of getting a trophy this season. If we can beat Manchester City in the Carabao Cup, then we're essentially as good, or hopefully as good as dry when it comes to winning the Carabao Cup. Although I admit Leicester City are still in that area. Likewise with the FA Cup, if we're going to get a trophy this season, we've got to get past Wolves, who look very, very good, and Adama Traore is a bully. So all of that said, all this puts a lot of importance on, in my opinion, on this game. Raymond Moore, shout out to you. Thank you so much for tuning in. Couldn't agree more. Pogba and Greenwood need to start. Like I said, I just think it's very, very, this game for me is a very important game because it does, at least in my opinion, make there to be like less pressure, I guess, on the players. Because with this game in particular, if we lose this game, not only is top four an issue, but also it puts major pressure on the Arsenal game, where I think that for me, as long as we don't lose the Arsenal game and at least take a point, although I think that we definitely need to actually win the game in order to stay charged with top four, it's not the end of the world. Whereas lose this game here and we have problems, So just quickly, just moving on. Obviously, poor Pogba. And I hope, and this isn't going to be a long preview. It shouldn't be too long. But as I said in the start, poor Pogba for me has to start. I think it's very important that in this game, and you'll see my lineup, my preferred lineup coming soon, that I think this game it's important to have good squad rotation. Poor Pogba, he hasn't played for goodness knows how many months. He's only played about equivalent of 45 minutes of football, either half coming on in the second half of both games. So right now he's probably played about 90 minutes of football. So for me, especially given the fact that Scott McTominay is now injured, unfortunately, you can check that video out. There'll be a link in the description, or you can just check it out on this channel. For me, poor Pogba basically has to start. Unfortunately, I anticipate that Ole will not play Pogba in the preferred number 10 position, and most likely he'll play Pogba in the holding position. In an ideal world, for me, maybe he plays Matic and Fred there as a two holding, then Pogba further forward. But honestly, I think that Fred himself also needs a rest. We need players. Fred, I think, has been playing pretty much I don't think Fred has been injured this season, as far as I'm aware. And since Pogba was out, Fred has basically played every single game. So that's another player that needs rest as well. So I would anticipate that Pogba will come in from the start for McTominay and play either alongside Fred or Matic. Next, obviously, is this kid in Mason Greenwood. Mason Greenwood, in my opinion, Mason Greenwood, unlike other players, like he hasn't played the same amount of games, same amount of minutes. He's still young, and while I do think yes, he did play for quite some time in the last game, I think that he, more than any other players, could handle the game time. I think you play Mason Greenwood against Burnley, and I think you bring him on against Arsenal. And I think that what better way to get into the groove than to start him, or at the very least to bring him on and have him to have at least 60 minutes. Daniel James didn't play, so I imagine Daniel James will come back into the squad. But as I've always said, I've always liked to see if Mason Green could play as a number 9 through the middle. See how that goes, to give Martial or Rashford a bit of a rest. Because I think, in my opinion, I feel that Martial and Rashford one of the two needs to be rested this game. Okay, for me, they need to not either put them on the bench or have them not play, because we need them fit for Arsenal. And I think, in my opinion, you drop Martial, you put Greenwood up top as a number 9, and then you have Rashford Martial alternating in that spot, maybe half and half, 45 minutes each way. That way they've got a bit of a rest, and then you have Daniel James on the other side, and so on. But anyway, we'll go into the team selection in a second. Raymond Moore, top 4 is within reach. Consistency needs to start now. I agree. This is the big thing about consistency. It's a positive that we at least were able to beat we were able to beat Newcastle, which would have been seen as one of the difficult teams in terms of us being able to break down. I think it's going to be difficult going away to Burnley, given the fact they're home, although their form has not been as good. But I also think that this is the chance. I mean, for me, a win away to Burnley, it signifies to me that at least we're getting past, or hopefully getting past, this idea that Manchester United can't beat teams that use a low block. I think that does help with the fact that Pogba plays further forward, and that's why I'm very interested to see how Ole Gunnar Solskjaer is going to play this, given the fact that Scott McTominay is actually injured. So it'll be interesting. We will definitely see what happens with that. Worry with the defence in our midfield. Pogba could replace McTominay position. He is not known with his defence. Hope Ollie plays Matic. Yeah, I mean, it's weird. As much as I feel like Matic should go, and I still think Matic should go. We don't really have a lot of choice. Gunnar possibly could come in. That's really all we have, really. If we don't play Matic in that position, that's really all you have. And also Fred, obviously, like I said, needs a bit of a break. So I can't think of any. And this is, I mean, we're not going to go over and over and over again about the fact that Manchester United need midfield players, and we don't have midfield players. Even if you look in our academy, we don't. So I'm hoping, fingers crossed, that Matic does come in here, because I don't know. I just don't see how Ollie can justifiably play Fred and Pogba, and then even maybe Pereira or Lingard, because while Pogba can play, I just feel Fred needs some rest. And also we know that Pogba defensively in that position is not as great as he is offensively. So we'll see how that plays out. So onto the selection. As you can see, De Gea obviously will be in goal, in my opinion. There's no really just about that. Even though I think that it would be nice to maybe get Romero or someone else to just sort of come in, but he's not going to. So that's what's going to happen. After that, you've got Williams as left back. Now this is what this is where a lot of people might put Shaw, etc. But again, it's all about rotation here. It's all about rotation, and I just think that, yes, I know Williams is still learning his trade, etc. But we need to rotate. We need to, because we need, as I said at the start, we need to rest players, given the fact that we have Arsenal, Wolves, and City in our next 3 games, and they're not going to get rest by playing all of them. So when you see players just tired, lethargic, not having an energy, is it because we're playing them all the time? So yeah, I would put Williams in instead of Shaw. Maguire and Jones. I really don't want to see Jones in a Manchester United shirt again. But, we don't have centre-backs. Twansibi is unfortunately injured. Eric Bailly is still injured somehow. And Chris Smalling is on loan. So we're left with, we only have basically three fit centre-backs. Harry Maguire, Victor Lindelof, and Phil Jones. That's all we have. And if we have to rotate players, which we do have to rotate, then Phil Jones has to play. Phil Jones has to come in. Take your pick on Lindelof and Maguire. It's a gamble, but we need to take the gamble because Lindelof and Maguire also need breaks. So, we'll see what happens. Wan-Bissaka obviously will be playing right back. I get very touchy about Wan-Bissaka right now, just simply because he's been playing so many games, and our right back who'd come in would be Dalot, Obviously, Ashley Young could come in, but Ashley Young seems to sort of. I assume Ashley Young is not really going to be playing in the Premier League as much. Maybe more Europa League. We'll see. Um, he might come in, but I would be surprised given how aggressive Burnley are. So Aaron Bissaka will play, but again, it's a big risk because he's also played a lot of games. I'd be very concerned about him getting injury prone. In front of them, as you can see, Pogba and Matic. Pogba and Matic, like I said, I'm sure Ollie will do it, and I don't want him to, but I feel like you need to rest Fred. You need to rest Fred. You need to rest Fred and give him a break. So play Matic. Pogba will then unfortunately have to go into that holding a DM role because Scott McTominay is of course injured. We don't know when he's going to be back. So I anticipate that he will play Pogba in that role. In fact, I'm 90% sure he will play him there. So we can't really say anything regarding that. It's just going to happen. And Fred needs to rest. So unless Solskjaer plays Matic and Fred there, which is fine, but I would again be concerned if Fred gets injured. You know, midfield is the area that we're struggling, and even defence, because we only have another centre back to pick from in after Maguire and Jones. I guess possibly Rojo, but I think Rojo might be injured as well. And then with our midfield, okay, we have Pogba, Matic, Fred, McTominay's injured, and then Matic and Garner. So 5. Garner's maybe too young, Matic, and then obviously McTominay is obviously out. You know, so you need to put at least 2, possibly 3 there. So yeah, we're short. We're short. So I hope he rotates, but I won't be surprised if he does. Anyway, moving on to 3 in front. James, I think, should come back into this game. I think he should definitely come back into this game. Daniel James, play him on the right side midfield. Like he hasn't had the best couple of games previously, but I do think that if you play Daniel James on that side, I think you're going to get will get at least a bit of joy running at that Burnley defence. He was rested against Newcastle, didn't play any minutes, so I think for me, you can even get him a good 45, 60 minutes, for example, and then maybe bring on Pereira in that position, or even Rashford, because Rashford can play on the right. Just something, you know. That's what I would do anyway. Thanks to everyone who's watching, by the way. If you're watching and new to the channel, please like, share, and subscribe to Red Devil Studio, as you can see by the social links at the bottom of the screen. Welcome to the Red Devil Studio live stream. Lingard as number 10. I know people won't like this. To be honest, I don't really see much difference between Lingard and Pereira at this point, really. I think Lingard possibly offers maybe a bit more. Possibly. I don't really see Pereira even in that game against Newcastle. I didn't really know what he really offered, if I'm honest. So, given that Pereira, I think, played about 75, maybe the 4 minutes, I can't remember. I'd bring Lingard in the number 10 role. Martial on the left, alternating with Rashford. I think Martial 45 minutes, Rashford 45 minutes, just keeping them rested and fit so that we can play against Arsenal. Then up top, I think Mason Greenwood should be given number 9. Mason Greenwood could play on the right where Daniel James is on top, but again, it's about the rest here. And if Mason Greenwood is going to play on where Daniel James is, basically, who is going to play up top as a 9, and then who's going to play left? You're going to play Martial. I mean, I guess you could probably put Greenwood on the right, then Martial or Rashford up. Well, Martial will be up top as 9, and then Daniel James on the left, and therefore rest Rashford. That is a possibility as well. And the main thing I guess I want to say is that I don't want to see Anthony Martial and Marcus Rashford playing 90 minutes against the Burnley side, because Burnley are going to be physical, Burnley are going to be aggressive, and it's going to be a difficult game. So we need them to rest. So yeah, like I said, this is a must. We need to win this game. We need that consistency to build. We need to go forward. We need to keep on pressing. But more importantly, this game is so important that hopefully it can prove that Manchester United can actually break teams that essentially perform a low block, which is what Burnley are going to do. They're going to drop back, going to defend. They're going to bully our centre-backs and defenders when they get set pieces. They're not going to play expansive football. We know that. They're just going to basically just try and bully us. So we need to basically go out on the front foot, hit them on the counter, be quick and fast, and get this job done so that we can rest players for the upcoming game against Arsenal New Year's. Thanks again for everyone watching. Please like, share, and subscribe to Red Devil Studio. Follow us on Twitter, United X. We will be doing another FIFA live stream, a simulation of the game to see what happens, and then obviously there'll be a post-match reaction sometime after the game. Have a nice evening, guys. Oh, before I forget, my match prediction, as I said in the Red Devil Studio live podcast on Monday, or sorry, yesterday I think it was, is a 3-1 to Manchester United. So 3-1 to Manchester United. Come on, United.